Hi, I'm Nikolai, aka 56 Miner, and today we're unboxing our May Premium box. This month's box is all about gouache. We'll go over some foundations of the medium, talk about the materials, and I'll share some tips and tricks that I picked up while working with them. Let's get into it. For our surface this month, we have a custom Toscana pad from the Magnani company. This rough textured cotton pad is perfect for gouache, and because our pad has adhesive on the edges, we don't have to worry about warping. For our paints this month, we have a custom 4-set of Holbein Artist Gouache in Myotosis Blue, Light Ochre, Hummingbird Blue, and Peony. All of these colors are going to be from Holbein's Traditional Colors of Japan series. For our brush this month, we have a SketchBox Signature Tri-Wedge in a size 8. This brush does have a bit of a learning curve, but it's super rewarding once you get comfortable with it. Now, what makes gouache such an interesting medium is that there's a lot of versatility to it. You'll notice that gouache is going to dry flat, so there won't be any shine to it. The peony and hummingbird colors in our set are going to be semi-transparent, and the light ochre and mitosis blue are going to be a little bit more opaque, so less transparent, straight out of the tube. Let's use our hummingbird blue and light ochre to make a nice vibrant green. We'll use this transparent green to explore the different shapes that our brush can make. By using a light hand, we can stamp our brush and create kind of a teardrop shape. And by applying more pressure, we can flare out those bristles to make a wider shape. And thanks to how wide the belly of that brush is, it can hold a lot of pigment. Building off that last stroke, we can create a simple clover by rotating our brush as we press down. Slow and steady is the name of the game when it comes to brushwork like this, so make sure to be patient with yourself if this is new to you. I've had the most success creating thin lines by flipping the brush upside down, and we can always lay it on its side if we're trying to make thicker lines. Dragging our brush at an angle will create a simple leaf shape, and you can always clean things up with the tip. You'll just want to use a very light hand. We can also use the split petal technique that we talked about in our January videos. And if you're new to brushwork or just new to a wedge brush, I definitely suggest taking a scrap piece of paper and just practicing some strokes until you get comfortable. The next item in our box is going to be a bottle of Liquitex Titanium White Acrylic Gouache. What makes this gouache special is that it's going to be fully opaque, so it's going to act a little bit more like acrylic paint. Now, mixing the white with our other colors will allow us to create a series of tints. Tints are just any color that you add white to. By using white in combination with a little bit of that water, we're not only creating a lighter color, but we're also creating a color with high opacity. So it's going to look more like traditional paint versus watercolor. While a wedge brush is super versatile, it definitely lends itself to floral painting. Here I'm just using the side of that brush in a shimmying motion in order to create a little bit of variance on the edge of those petals. Now for our next technique, we're going to load our brush with 2 different colors of paint. By loading our brush with the light tint and then just dipping the tip into some of that peony color, we can create a nice gradient effect. By adding a bit more water to our first color, we can increase that gradient spread as the pigment will be able to move a little bit more freely. Because we're creating a flower with a series of single strokes, it's important that you take your time and not to rush. As you can see, I'm taking my time to find an angle that's comfortable for me and just going slow with the motions of the brush. And taking the darker tint that we mixed, we can add a petal to the front side, which will help to create an illusion of 3-dimensionality. Working in tints like this is really common in gouache, and you can see it a lot in children's book illustration. Now, if you're a fan of outlines or details, gouache can definitely do that, but it's important that you let that first layer dry, otherwise your colors will bleed. Let's grab the next item in our box, the Copic Multiliner in Cobalt. Fine liners like this are great as they offer us a consistent line with minimal line weight variance. I really enjoy using fine liners for pattern work and sketching out my concepts. Thumbnailing is a great way to hone your idea without jumping into paint too quickly. And thanks to the opaque nature of our gouache, we can always go in and fully cover those lines. To make softer gradients and transitions, try adding more water to your brush and smoothing out that paint. Now that we've got a good understanding of our materials, let's go ahead and open up our Magnani pad. I'm going to be using the mechanical pencil from February to break that adhesive on the edges, but you can also do this with a butter knife. Once I've broken the majority of that adhesive, I'll go ahead and peel off the top and just wipe away any fibers that might have come off of the lid. Let's take everything that we've learned so far and apply it to a more complex piece. I'll start by mixing our mitosis blue with a little bit of that light ochre to get a nice green color. Using just the tip and a slow, light pressure hand, I'll go in and make those thin lines, using them to establish the basis of where our flowers will be. Next, I'll go in and build out a few leaves, starting with that very light pressure and then pushing down to get that nice leaf shape. Using the tip of our brush to clean up anything once we do that single stroke. And I'm rotating my canvas as I go about this to make sure that my hand's always in a comfortable position. Let's mix up some of our light ochre, that titanium white, and peony in order to get a nice orange color. I'm going to use this color in combination with the peony as the basis for our flowers. In order to create a smoother edge on our petals, I'm going to rotate my brush slightly as I go through those single strokes, and this will help to just kind of smooth out that outside line. Make sure to re-dip your brush in our paint every few petals in order to ensure that you have a consistent gradient. And make sure to rotate that canvas as you're working this month. It really will help to make things a little bit easier and a little bit kinder on your wrist. Since we're working in gouache, we can always go over anything that we don't love. And if you need to widen any petals, you can use a stamping technique in order to fill in those gaps. With our flowers established, I'm going to take a little bit of our leaf color and mix it with the titanium white to create a tint. I'll use this new tint in order to create some details on the leaves and to add highlights to areas light would hit. I didn't love this leaf in the lighter color, so I'm going to let it dry fully and then go back over with our original green to cover it up. To create some details and highlights on our flowers, I'll use our orange mixed with a little bit of titanium white for a lighter tint. At this stage of the drawing, you can really start to see why this is such a great medium for children's book illustrators. It's bright with bold colors, and it's relatively friendly to work in. Now, once I get my details to a good place, I'm going to thin out that peony color a little bit, and then go back in and re-emphasize the center of our flowers. Once that layer is fully dry, I'll go back in with our Copic liner and add a few stigma to the center of our flowers. You'll want to use a very soft hand with this so that you don't push into the paint too much, and if any paint does get on the nib, you can wipe it off with a paper towel. That's all for this month's video. Hope you enjoyed it, learned a few things, and if you post your work online, make sure you use #SketchBoxMay. We love seeing what y'all create each month, and if you want to check out any of our previous videos, head over to our YouTube channel where you can like and subscribe, and I'll see you next month.